Hey, how do you crush your next Zoom meeting? How do you do that? Like, it's a good question. I know you asked, you didn't ask, but you found it, so we're gonna talk about it. Because this is the truth, like, you're in Zoom meetings, but you're in a bunch more, whether it's Zoom, you're in meetings that are digital, and there's some etiquette to it now. Like, the more we all do in this society, we gotta find ways to make sure that we're actually doing this correctly. So what I do know is that as we get going with this, like, the big key is really to make sure that we do this right. It's the first foot forward. To be honest, in my area, and what I do, like, I work with large corporations. I gotta have my first foot forward, like, in a phenomenal way every meeting. It ain't just the first one. It's like there may be new people on the call, new people on the line. I gotta be prepared. I also hold a podcast. People better show up and be ready to go for the podcast. I got 30 minutes. We gotta rock and roll. And then for me, on other people's podcasts, right? You gotta be dialed in. And I'm gonna talk today about the 6 things you can do, 6 simple steps to work through that can get your mind to a good rhythm and a good flow so you can crush these Zoom meetings. Show up with your best foot forward and actually leave a lasting impression. That's my big thing I realize is now, because the world isn't out in public networking, shaking hands, these meetings matter. How you show up matters. How you look, how you feel, how you dress, how you flow, it all matters, right? So we're gonna talk about this. The first thing we're gonna look at is gonna be pre-call, right? Before we even get onto the call. So first thing is you gotta make sure, we're gonna call this the pre-call. You'll see the notes pop up on the screen. And it's actually, it's gonna be good. We're gonna go sideways as how I'm recording this. Hopefully my team can get all sexy on the screen. They may have to fill the whole screen up. We'll call it pre-call, right? So what you wanna do is make sure you're dressed right. Now, I am not dressed at the moment for a Zoom meeting. And to be honest, depending upon what you do, like, maybe you can still show up in hoodies and still rock your thing. I do in some of my podcasts. But then there's sometimes you gotta make sure you dress right. Be aware of it. This is you. This is just like you'd walk into an office meeting. Dress correctly. Next thing you wanna make sure you do is you wanna make sure you have your audio right. If your audio isn't right, it sucks. So if you usually use headphones, have them already connected. And no one likes someone going up to the meeting and showing up and popping headphones in and let's get connected now. Like, let's be ready to go. If you're professional, be ready to go before. And it's what I do. I usually hop on and I go and test the audio, make sure my Bluetooth's connected if I'm using Bluetooth. I use my my little player, like my music player, whether it's Spotify or Apple, whatever it is. All I do is pop on there and I press play to make sure the audio is going where it needs to go. Then I test the microphone, make sure it all sounds good, because the audio matters. I don't like hopping on, like, I can't find anything. It diminishes the actual, I guess, the polish of you, right? So make sure your audio is clean pre-call. Then make sure you clear your screen. The reason I say clear your screen is because there may be a moment where you get a screen share. And you screen share, and no one likes to see a screen share and all your messages in the background or emails still open. Like, have your back clean. Like, so clean up your desktop, people. Like, make sure that thing is good. Apple allows you to put everything in piles now. It's way easier to keep things clean. So do that. Like, clean the screen up so it looks nice and smooth, and then turn your notifications off if you can. The reason is because those things make noise. I do not like being on phone calls or podcasts and somebody all of a sudden has like an alarm that goes off in the middle. Like, we're recording, man. Like, it breaks the focus. We gotta talk about that, come back to our conversation. It messes the flow of the conversation up. Notifications off. Outside noise. Make sure you're in a space that doesn't have a bunch of outside noise. Like, unless it can be okay. Like, maybe you're just having a quick, meeting, who knows what it is. But like, if you can, be in a place that's pretty quiet. It's always good and professional to be in a space that's quiet. Protect people's time, respect their time. So make sure you are dialed in the pre-call setup. Now, we get on to the call. We get on to the call with some intro stuff. I'm gonna call it intro banter. Intro and banter. This is something where what I recommend, if you haven't done it, depending upon if it's a podcast or it's a meeting, you should know who you're talking to, right? Spend some time, I'm serious, like a minute or two reading the bio. Check out their Instagram real fast. See the most recent post they posted. Go and maybe check their website out. Who knows? Watch a YouTube video they've posted. You should at least know who you're talking to, right? So spend some time talking to them. When you get on, it's best to banter. Like, if someone doesn't know you, first time meeting you, to go right into business is kind of weird. People, they need a human connection. Think about it, an actual meeting. Before you go into the meeting, what do? I may show up, I may walk in, I put my water down, good morning, how you doing? Oh, it's been a good morning. Like, actually have that. We need that as humans. We need that non-business personal connection. So I want you to know them. So we're gonna get to know them, get to know, and then talk. Just banter, like have a back and forth. This could last anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes. Just Seriously, you can even do the original stuff. It's kind of like this, the weather. How's the weather out where you're at? You can do that, but banter with them. What I actually recommend, find a cool, fun, engaging question that people enjoy. Hey, do you have any kids? Yeah. What was the last cool thing you did with your kids? It's odd. What do you mean? Like, I just like to find out stuff about people before we get into the conversation. You may ask them, simple question like that, but it leads to the personal, the heart. It opens them up a little bit. And the more you can open them up, the more you have a great conversation, whether it's going to be an interview where you might get a job, or it's going to be a podcast you're on, or you're going to interview somebody for a podcast, or it's a typical work meeting. Who knows? This is a great way just to open up and banter. Then what we do is I'm real big. I'm going to launch take control of the meeting. I call it take control. I realize that writing like this is not going to make my handwriting very clear for you, but I'm big on taking control. And the first part of that is to realize that one, when we do this, we're trying to get the call into a flow. People can sometimes banter for far too long. After like a couple minutes, like I know and I can feel if someone's just kind of talking, like let's get into it. You got to feel that out and get into the call. Take control. Okay, great. Hey, love that. So cool meeting you. Let's get into the call now. And what we do is we actually get into the call and we start having a conversation about what we're going to do. What I'd like to do is outline what we're going to talk about. Hey, here's what we're going to talk about, right? We're going to talk about X, Y, and Z today's call. I want to make sure it's clear. And what I'm always looking to do is I want to make sure I know what the end result is. The end result. Now, the reason I want to know the end result is because when I get into a call, I'll literally ask people like, hey, I want to make sure we're clear. By the end of this call, what do we want to have accomplished? Like I do this in a lot of my coaching calls. Hey, hop on and banter back and forth. Great. So today we're going to cover this, this, and this, and this. That's what I plan. Just for you, just so I know by the end of this call, what do you want to make sure we've accomplished? Is it clarity on a specific area? Is it, setting a meeting time for next time we're going to meet? Whatever it might be, the idea is not just to have this conversation, just randomly cover things and go through stuff and hope it gets done. We got to actually take control and move the meeting along. If you're not moving things along, you're wasting time. To be honest, that's the problem. Is a lot of people hop into calls and the things that we think are going to take an hour, like they don't take an hour because we do it right. And sometimes things that should take an hour take longer than an hour because we didn't have a plan in place. And to be honest, one thing you might even think about is when you start your calls, saying, hey, if we can cover this stuff early, we might be able to finish the call early. That feels good for everybody, right? Like the idea is when I get on meeting stuff, it's just a meeting. If I can get this information done, like the purpose of a meeting is just to have a call. If I can get it done faster, I want to get it done faster. I don't want to sit here and banter and go back and forth forever if I don't really need to. I'd much rather get off this thing, go in the house, go to the bathroom, have a snack, talk to my wife, whatever it might be. Like I would rather do that than talk to you about more business stuff if I don't have to. But if we can be clear about it, set the intention and get those things done, everybody can get off the call early and we win a little bit, right? Now, next step, launch. So step 4 is we're going to launch. So launch the call means we're going to actually lead into the call and get ourselves into a rhythm and a flow for the call. That simply means we're just going to start talking. We're going to prepare our screen to share. So I say prepare to share. So if you need to, make sure you allow the other person to share. If it's Zoom, go in, hit the participants, go to their name. On the right side, it says more, drop it down, make them a co-host. They can then share their screen or set it up in Zoom's settings, right? But the idea is like prepare to share. The reason is because you're probably going to share things that you need to have somebody else see, right? If there's any kind of website stuff, PDFs, documents, you want to make sure you're ready to share. If you've already cleaned your desktop off, great, right? So now just go in, click the button, and let them know like, hey, just in case you want to share, I gave you co-hosting abilities, you can now share. So now the both of you can share when you need to and go back and forth and communicate who's on, who's off, what I got to go through, and just have your meeting, right? It's fairly pretty simple. And then just go step by step through your list of what's going to get done, right? If you go step by step through your list and keep yourself in tow without letting people venture off into new tangents all day long, that happens, but try to bring it back. If we just go step by step, we're going to be fine. We'll end up getting everything done. Everything will be smooth and it's going to be great. Now, the last thing, or the second to last thing, I call it the 10-minute mention. Now, the 10-minute mention is big because we could be going off into tangents pretty quickly. I do it a lot. As I go off into a tangent, I notice, and I want to give a reminder to myself of when we have 10 minutes. So I can do it, say, okay, great. We got about 10 more minutes left in this meeting. Let's make sure we're clear where we're going, if we're at that point, and make sure we're going to complete what we plan to get done today. And then you guys can snap back and focus real quick, spend the next 10 minutes getting things dialed in, right? It's pretty simple. It's not that hard. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna say, if it's another meeting going on, next meeting or next steps, we'll call it. So I always like to leave meetings with like clean, clear next steps. What am I doing? What are you doing? So that when we're done with this 10 minutes, not only have we accomplished that thing, but now there's action after the fact. To sit and talk and have a plan and then not have any steps to get it done means you're gonna have to redo that same conversation later on. The idea is to make sure you know who has what to get done, who's being allocated, this task, this project, and then they can get that project done. It's fairly quick and simple. The last thing is, man, I'm really big on, we'll call it conclude. Now, I like this in a certain way. I like to close the meeting fast. As soon as the meeting's over, like, all right, bye. Get to that button as fast as you can. There's nothing weirder than that moment when you both said bye and neither of you guys can find the end button. You're both like sitting there, like they're looking, but you're not looking. I want to get off this. It's like when you say bye to somebody, like you're leaving a restaurant, you end up walking in the same direction. It just feels weird. So get that button at the end of the call, get it ready to go. So you say, all right, take it, see you later, and then close it. Hit that big red button, end that meeting, get out of there as fast as you can. It is way, way smoother that way. And then what you do is follow up. If it's a good meeting that you enjoyed, let them know. Man, it's kind of a thing, having that human connection after the banter, after the conversation. Hey, had a great time chatting with you, looking forward to that next time. Whatever it might be, a message, an Instagram. I like to do voice message real quick just because I know it's personal. Do a quick voice message to people. But if you do this right, pre-call, throughout the call, and close it up. So pre-call, all the stuff I talked about, I'm not gonna rehash it all. Then from there, make sure you have an intro and some banter, have some fun, make sure that you take control of that call so you lead it properly. People like to be in a structure. They like to have somebody leading. It feels more comfortable, right? Then launch the call, go to work, talk about what you gotta talk about, structure things out, step by step, go to the flow, and then let people know, hey, we got 10 minutes left, let's get this dialed in, what are our next steps moving forwards, and then close it fast and follow up. If you do this right, you'll have phenomenal podcast interviews because you can talk about what you're gonna talk about in the podcast and go. You can have great back and forth business meetings, coaching calls. It's a simple structure. When you get a good process and a good routine to all this, it feels natural. And that's what we really want. Like you want to have this natural, good engagement towards not this headache and, just clumsy thing you're doing every time you do a call. And then the cool thing is you look like a professional. When you look like a pro, like you look like an actual person knows what they're doing, people enjoy those calls with you. They hire you for virtual engagements. They hire you to train their teams. They want to have more meetings with you. They invite other people to go and talk to you because it was smooth. Podcast grows, your podcast invites grow, and in time, I'm assuming, business grows, career grows. It's pretty simple, but pretty powerful. So go and crush your next Zoom meeting.